What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the evening edition. I feel like this should be like on the Playboy channel or something. This is the evening edition of At Home with Mark. As far as East Coast, I'm usually doing these earlier, so thanks for hanging out late. But got a really special guest today from Silktone. Charles Henry, thank you so much for hanging out, buddy, and making some time to do this.
Yeah, I'm stoked you could fit my schedule, and I just got off work here, so I ran and scrambled with my microphone and ready to record. So thanks for doing it in the evening, and thanks for everyone who came to hang out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have like a bunch of questions that I'm going to ask you or try to get to. We have some mutual friends, so I kind of tried to dig into some of my buddies today who know you to be like, what's the dirt? Is there any fun facts I need to know?
We'll see who gave you different information, because I tell everyone something different every time. So my backstory I can never keep straight because everyone got a different one.
Okay. Man, I appreciate that about you. Well, let me start off with my shtick, because I've done so many of these. I've done 160 odd some of episodes of this. This is season 8, episode 10. So you're a nice even number here. Nice. But I've asked this question basically of everyone minus the first season, because I hit my stride in the second season, Charles. But what's your earliest musical memory?
Oh wow, earliest musical memory. Let me just come out of the gate firing here.
Yeah.
Probably Madonna.
Oh yeah? How so?
Yeah, Madonna. Just listening to it in the car with my mom. I remember Vogue.
Oh yeah.
Vogue was like just out in the early 90s. And yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind. So I'm just going to roll with it.
Okay.
Doing Vogue in the car as a little,
we must be similarly aged, because I remember that as well, and like the early 90s was like the beginning of my life in music. So it's like I vividly remember when that came out, because my older sister was like a big Madonna head.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what they called them then, but regardless, so was music like part of the family? Like, was it just music was on all the time?
I mean, my mom was young. She was in her 20s, and she'd listen to music that 20-year-olds listen to at the time. She wasn't super big into music. Neither was my dad, here and there, James Brown, stuff like that. My dad was a lot of Motown and James Brown and everything like that. And then my mom was whatever's a hit. I remember a lot of TLC, a lot of Salt and Pepper, a lot of Madonna, stuff like that. So I grew up with all that stuff, and I love it all. So, and then like probably the first big musical influence in my life was my aunt, who was like a music hound, worked at a venue and all that. And she introduced me to a lot of, Van Morrison and, a lot of stuff like that, real young. So yeah, I guess so. In the family, just not the immediate family, but it was always present. But I don't have like other family members that were musicians or anything like that, or growing up with anyway. And then, but then as I became a teenager, me and my cousins all got into playing guitar and listening to music, and we identified like music has been a part of my identity since a very young age. Mm-hmm. Mostly through friends and cousins.
Okay. Were you listening to, so like with your aunt, like, did you get it to go into a bunch of shows? Like, did she take you to see some live and like acts and stuff? Were you too young?
No, she didn't work at a venue when I was of the age to go, but growing up she did. And the first concert I went to, I went to punk shows and stuff in the Bay Area, like the Gilman in Berkeley and stuff. I went to a lot of real small punk shows out there. The first like concert I ever paid for and went to I was probably 15. And I went to see the Strokes right before Is This It came out.
Oh, wow, dude.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
They were playing with Moldy Peaches, and so that was a cool first show. It was fun. And then that's not true. Before that, I saw that was the first one I paid for. But before that, I had seen like Dee Dee Ramone with the Misfits and stuff like that. And
dang, dude.
Yeah, or sorry, Marky Ramone with the Misfits. Dee Dee Ramone just doing his own Dee Dee Ramone thing. And yeah, a lot of early punk stuff.
Okay, so you grew up on like the punk scene? mostly? Like,
Yeah, I guess so. Early teenage years, a lot of punk. But again, I liked everything. I do a bunch of punk, and then I do a bunch of Cyndi Lauper and Madonna at the same time. So
hell yeah, dude.
I was never like, there was never that thing with me where it's like, oh, that's not cool to listen to that. Whatever I like, I listen to, man.
Okay. Did you get into like the DC, like Fugazi, like Minor Threat, all this stuff? Like,
Fugazi, not Minor Threat. Fugazi I like, but no, a lot of it was like, I was into, again, like the Misfits and the Ramones were probably the biggest ones for me. And then like Dead Kennedys and stuff like that. I had a friend that whose mom like used to babysit Jello Biafra. That was that was funny. But then early teens, a few of my friends were in like grindcore, crustcore bands and stuff, and they would play shows around. So a lot of it was just like local punk. And we saw who I'm drawing a blank now, but there was a locally big band that some, punk fans would know, but shit, I can't remember.
that's all good. It's funny because I'm like you in the sense that I appreciate everything. Like from bluegrass to crooner music to like, Tool, like, so it's like doesn't, phase me. I had a whole talk tonight with my wife about that because we were talking about, I saw this clip today of somebody talking about like revisiting the music you grew up on is like a healthy thing to do.
I saw that.
Right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Like, yeah, and like my wife cannot stand Pearl Jam, but like Pearl Jam is the reason I play music. Like that's
okay, right on.
like why I'm a guitarist. And I was like, so all right, babe. So you're just gonna have to listen to Pearl Jam the rest of your life. We're gonna be like 80 and crusty, and like we'll be listening to Yield or whatever. So, but I feel like that's so important to kind of like revisit that stuff and kind of get it back in you.
Yeah.
And I skipped over the like punk thing. Like I had a bunch of friends who were into that, which kind of led into like Ministry and, kind of more harder edged industrial music, Nine Inch Nails and all that stuff. And I never really understood
stuff.
Yeah. And I never understood it in a way. I had an older brother who was into like the Grateful Dead, and he exposed me to that very young. So like,
that's one I've never gotten into.
Really?
No, never.
Man,
my friend Ryan, Ryan from Demos in the Dark, or
I don't know him. I know of him.
Okay, he's a humongous Deadhead, and we're pretty close, and so he's always talking about it, and I'm like, someday.
I should talk to him too. I should get him on here to talk about that because there's credence to that. Like I feel like the Grateful Dead has become the new American songbook in a way. by via other artists who now understand it, like who maybe didn't understand it before, but now are getting the fact that like, wow, these guys wrote really great songs.
Right.
But I kind of got past that quickly and got into Fish and stuff because it was harder edged,
right?
Like jam band stuff, and I like,
jam band, and
so like that was my jam, like my jam through the 90s and stuff was like grunge and like Fish, and the Grateful Dead. But I'm the same way where it's like you kind of weave in and out of different musical scenarios, and I feel like that only helps us grow as musicians too. I mean, did you feel that way growing up in, because like the Bay Area is very culturally diverse, so like
it's funny like getting into a band, and then of course it evolves and you get into more and more bands, and then like revisiting one like you said that you hadn't listened to in quite a while, and sometimes it clicks again and you're like, oh my god, I forgot about this, it's so amazing. And then sometimes it's like, how did I ever like this?
I definitely have had that happen too.
Yeah, it's rare because I mean most music I've ever liked I do still like, but sometimes it's just like, man, I can't keep this on for very long.
What are you listening to now? Like what are you like listening to while you're working and stuff?
A lot of Blonde Redhead lately.
Anyone who that band?
You don't know the band?
No.
Well, they actually just toured with you mentioned Tool. They toured with Tool. They opened for Tool for quite a while there. They're like a dream pop kind of thing. But they're like one of my favorites right now and always. But I've seen them a few times lately, so it's just been on my mind and I've been listening. And I probably sound like a broken record to people who've seen me on other streams talking about Blonde Redhead. Right. But no, they're amazing. I've been doing a lot of Kendrick Lamar. I've been doing a lot of Harry Nilsson. I've been I've had Time Out by Dave Brubeck on repeat for a
Oh,
while. So man, I'm all over the place.
yeah. Dude, have you heard I didn't really listen to Paramore at all until very recently, like their latest record, This Is Why. Have you heard that record?
No, I haven't done the Paramore thing yet. Yeah, I haven't.
Dude,
Again, a few people have told me to, and I just haven't done it.
man.
I actually follow them. Haley Williams seems really cool.
Yeah.
But I haven't dove into an album.
Oh, dude, you should like when this is over, go just put on the first track. It's called This Is Why.
Okay, I will.
And so I just Ariel Posen was just here doing a clinic and he borrowed one of my amps.
Oh, cool.
We were hanging out talking and he was like, dude, I know that you would like this. You should check this out. I was like, aren't they like an emo band? And he's like,
Yeah.
well,
Hang on.
just listen to this. And when
Yeah.
he put it on, I was like, oh my God, there was like
Yeah.
so much hip guitar stuff going on.
Yeah.
It's really good, dude.
All right, I'll listen to that if you go listen to Blonde Redhead. Just listen to
I will.
I mean, their latest one is really cool, but it's very different. I'd just start with the album Misery is a Butterfly.
Okay. I'm gonna write it down right now and I will check it out. And then, you know, as far as like when you started playing music, you said you and your cousins and stuff were playing music. Is this everybody's playing guitar? It's like a guitar free for all?
Well, yeah, mostly, but no, I had a cousin that played drums, and then my other cousin played guitar, and they had a band. I never did the band thing. I was too shy as a teenager. We'd jam in the garage and stuff like that, but yeah, I played guitar, and my other cousin played guitar, and we would kind of just go back and forth, and then I got roped into bass a few times, so I'm fairly comfortable on a bass, but I'm probably better at bass than I am at guitar, but I've played guitar way more.
Right.
But just I pick up a bass and I'm like, yeah, this feels way more at home.
Interesting.
Yeah.
P bass, J bass. What are you playing on as far as basses?
I have a J bass right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. They are very comfortable.
P bass was my first instrument, actually. It was a Japanese P bass, and then I don't know, they got stolen somewhere along the line, and I just got a J bass like last year. So
nice.
yeah,
Nice.
cool.
So in this scene, like when you were growing up, did you grow up in the Bay Area like for your whole life? Okay. So I know of, I mean, there's a bunch of musicians out there. I mean, Charlie Hunter being one of them that I grew up loving and listening to.
I've heard his name. I didn't know he was a Bay Area guy.
Oh, dude, he's on the East Coast now.
Oh, okay.
But he grew up like in the Bay Area and Oakland and everything, like playing gigs at Yoshi's and doing that thing.
Rad, yeah.
You should. So he's a jazz guy, but like
that's cool. I like jazz.
Pocket funk, kind of more of that thing. But he's like the hybrid, 7-string playing bass and guitar at the same time. Like it's nobody's problem.
Yeah.
But so like I know that the scene there like has always flourished. I mean, talk about the Grateful Dead. But like so. What as far as growing up in that area, did you get to see like some stuff that like really turned you on to like solidify your journey to where you are now in terms of your love of music? Like what did you witness there?
I mean, again, a lot of punk. I was in the East Bay, so I frequented like Berkeley and Oakland, but I grew up in Concord, and Concord had a humongous underground punk scene, and like people from Berkeley and Oakland would come to Concord for punk shows and stuff. So it was a lot of underground punk and grindcore and stuff. But as far as going to see bands, like I said, even at a younger age, my taste in music was always so varied. Everyone who tours comes through Oakland, Berkeley, San Francisco, So yeah, we got to see a lot of people. No one in particular really stands out. Kind of a boring answer, I guess, but like the local scene, definitely punk,
right?
But as far as going out and seeing concerts and shows, it was all over the place. Like Van Morrison and like I said, the Strokes. That was super cool at a young age.
Do you see Van Morrison in the 90s?
It was early or it might have been early 2000s.
Oh, yeah. I would love to see him, man. I love that guy.
Yeah. I just saw I would love to see him again. I just saw Bob Dylan for the first time. That was always like a bucket list. Like I want to see Bob Dylan. It kind of sucked.
Well, how old is that dude now? I mean,
he's really old, and he did great. the people I went with seemed to like it a lot, and I was like, yeah, good. Like, no.
Did you watch that We Are the World documentary on Netflix? I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head.
No, I
It's
did not.
pretty interesting, and
Hmm.
Dylan plays a pretty funny part in it. You know, you
Oh,
always see those memes of him like
yeah,
miserable in there.
yeah.
Um, and it was basically like how they described it was he was very uncomfortable and very self-conscious because he's surrounded by all these amazing singers.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it looks like he's like, "Screw this, I don't wanna be doing this."
Right.
Like, it sounded like what the problem was is he's like, "I can't hang." Right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
It was
Um,
yeah, it was interesting seeing him. I saw him at the Fox Theater in Oakland. That's where I saw a lot of shows. In my early 20s, I worked at my aunt and uncle's bar in Oakland. It was a really hip bar called Cafe Van Cleef. They basically like because the Fox Theater closed, I don't know when, the 80s or something, 90s, I have no idea. And then my uncle kind of like re I don't know, re-energized like uptown Oakland and started a bar there when it was like there was nothing around. And then a bunch of more bars popped up, and then the Fox reopened, and they were like a block away from the bar. So we'd always get into shows and stuff like that. And it was yeah, that was really cool. Early 20s, I probably saw most of my shows. And most of that was like shoegaze stuff. We'd see like yeah, like Spiritualized would come through, or like Blonde Redhead and Autolux and stuff like that. And then I remember seeing Air there a couple times. That was
mm,
cool. Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, a lot
Man.
of
Yeah.
different stuff.
It's always cool to be, like, in a major metropolitan city because, like, chances are you're gonna get some, good musical acts swinging through. Like, I'm from Baltimore, so, like, when I moved to
Oh, okay.
Boston, I was like, "Oh my god, there's gonna be a bunch of great stuff
Do
that
all the
happens in
shows.
Boston
Yeah.
all the time," and it
Yeah.
was. It was, like, constant, like, great music and stuff. Um, so here, we got a little snarky guy in here.
Oh,
Are you a
geez.
fan of The Doors?
Oh God. Oh, I forgot. I always forget on StreamYard. I can go and look at the YouTube comments, and I haven't I haven't seen.
So,
No, that's
Buddy
that's an inside joke, and I was when I was 12, but I'm not anymore.
No more, no more. No mas. So Buddy was telling me a story. So the main thing he told me today was about the hi-fi stereo story in terms
Oh,
of
which
so
one?
$120,000 for a hi-fi stereo or something like that.
Oh God, yeah.
So is this like is that what sparked your interest in tinkering and like making your own stuff? So,
Hi-fi was, yeah, for sure.
okay.
So yeah, basically what happened when I was like 19 or something, um, I had just got my first like nice record player, and I started collecting vinyl and everything, and collecting all these old records. And I went to get a replacement needle. Excuse me. And there was a local hi-fi shop called Stereo Unlimited in Walnut Creek, right where I lived. And it was the first time I had heard a tube amp in like a hi-fi setting. And they had really nice speakers, all kinds of stuff. And I was completely blown away by the live sound there. Like I thought a band was playing when I walked into the place, and was like looking around. It sounded like real, really good live sound. And I walked in and saw there was no band there. And they showed me they had like Magnapan, like planar speakers and everything. And I started asking questions, and I was like, man, like how much is this stereo? I want to get one. And they're like, oh, this system's like $120,000. And I was like, I'm not gonna ever be able to do that.
Yeah.
I deliver pizza,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I would keep going back. They were really, really, really cool at that store. Even though they knew I was this pizza delivery guy, 19 years old, didn't have any money, they'd let me put on my records and hang out and do everything. And they'd answer all my questions. And they ended up giving me like an old tube amp, and I modified the hell or after I got obsessed with like, why doesn't it sound like the one in their store? I started like, acquiring old vintage speakers and trying to match that sound I had heard at the store. And I kind of went down a rabbit hole and like learned how to modify gear and eventually like build my own circuits. And after a number of years and obsession, I built my first like hi-fi phono stage and preamp and power amp, and it sounded like even better than the stuff at the store. So I did that for a little while locally, and just I didn't really know anything about like running a business at the time, but they knew me and we had developed a relationship, and I just kind of sell through them. And yeah, I I kind of took that to its limit and discovered that I don't like dealing with people in the audiophile world, because they're more interested in so someone put it well, I forget who it was, but they said they're more interested in listening to their gear than listening to the music. You know, they put a record on to hear their system, not the record, you know.
Oh,
So I was more interested in making it sound real, making it sound like live sound, like, and like warm and magical. So that got boring. And like I said, I always played guitar, and I started applying it to guitar amps, and it was way more fun. So
yeah.
that's when that's kind of how that path opened up, you know?
Okay. All right. So every amp builder has a good I almost died story. Do you
Oh,
have a good I almost died building an amp story?
yeah, 100%.
Yes.
The, the, I was living and working at Soundwave Studios in Oakland. I was working on amps. Well, sorry, I was working at that bar I was talking about at the same time. So I'd get off a shift at the bar, go to the studio in Oakland, and repair a bunch of amps. What, you know, from repair customers. I was running a repair shop at the time, and I had an Ampeg SVT come through, and I was working on that for the first time, and stupidly forgot that the power cord was plugged in. I had it turned off and everything, but it was still plugged into the wall, and I dropped a screw right behind the rectifier circuit, and I went to dig around, and I went to grab the screw, and I touched the DC end of the rectifier and transformer, and the standby switch was on the other side of it at the time. And the it felt like someone hit me in the back of the head with a frying pan. Like
Oh.
I was so shocked. And it's a really, really, really bad area of Oakland, and theft was like rampant there. So I was convinced that someone had broken into the shop and hit me with a baseball bat and was going to steal my stuff. So I turned around and was like, "What the hell? Like, what just happened?" And nobody was there. And I was like, uh, and then I realized, oh, I just shocked the hell out of myself. And
Dude.
my heart was pumping and racing, and I was like, "Oh shit, this is kind of intense." So
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't sleep for a while, and then
Oh man.
that
Well,
was
that
scary. But that could have killed me. There's a lot of high voltage in those things.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So has a lot of that informed your decisions on how you do stuff now, like a days? Like I'm sure.
Didn't learn my lesson then. So then that again, that was running the repair shop. And then when I was designing the first Silktone amp, I was doing it out of my garage in another house. And I remember I would tweak circuits like while they were live, kind of, because I knew how it worked, you know. You can touch stuff as long as both hands aren't on it, you know, like
Yeah.
if you zap yourself through the fingers, you know, it's not going to hurt much. So I would like I'd be trying to voice a circuit, and I'd have a bunch of alligator clips set up. So I'd like tie in a resistor here or a capacitor there and see how it sounded. And not really thinking about it, I had one hand on the neck of my Jazzmaster, and then
Ooh.
I was farting around in the amp with the other hand, forgetting that I'm grounded through the strings. So I slipped a little bit and touched the high voltage line, and it just froze me up, and I literally threw my Jazzmaster involuntarily at the amp, and it just everything crashed over, and I was like, "Oh, damn it."
No.
But
You can always get another jazz master. You can't get
yeah,
another
yeah,
Charles. So it's like
exactly. So yeah, it was just a spasm. It just whoa, like just
yeah, I'm
tossed it out
sure.
of my hands. And that was the last time it's happened. I learned my lesson after that. Now it's been a long time.
All right. We'll knock
Yeah,
on some wood, man.
right.
Dude, yeah, that stuff scares the crap out of me. I
Yeah.
only had that so I have a 2 rack head that Eli also built me a cabinet. So when I want to like go to a combo, I just pull the chassis out and put it in the combo
Oh,
thing,
rad.
which I don't often do. I've just left it in the combo, but like it was off. I had that amp off for weeks and weeks, not realizing like those capacitors can still hold charge
Yeah.
and stuff. And like I'm always careful, but I remember the one time pulling it out very carefully, and I didn't have it, but I must have like pinched my finger or something when I was pulling out, so my hand slipped, and I felt like just numb. Like my
Yeah.
whole arm got numb, and I was like, "Oh no, oh god!"
No,
Like,
it's
and then I was like, "Oh, okay." Like,
yeah.
don't do that again. But that stuff is so scary, dude. Like all you guys that are messing with this and building these things, it's like there's a specific attention to detail
Yeah.
that is no joke, like life or death sometimes for some people,
Yeah.
probably.
I know. I don't like motorcycles. I don't like crazy, skydiving, no sports like that. Everyone asks me, don't like you don't like the thrill? And I was like, dude, I dance with death every day.
Yeah, totally, dude. That's hilarious. So that amp, that was the first. Was that like the first Silktone amp that
Yeah,
you were working? Okay,
it
all
was.
right.
Yeah.
And since then, how many have been built?
Mm. Of that model?
Just in general, of you building your amps?
400?
Man.
400 or so? Yeah.
Ah,
Something like that. Not a crazy amount. I've been doing it for that. So that was in probably 2017. It took a long time to finalize. We released the first amp at the very end of 2019. And then all the COVID stuff happened and we had to
perfect timing.
basically, yeah, great. So we shut down, moved, got a new shop, made it bigger, made it nicer, and basically relaunched it. I think, in 2019, 2020, we only sold like 3 or 4 amps, something like that. And then when we relaunched in 2021, we've been like hitting the ground running since then. So regrowing the business and doing all that. Yeah, we've done about 400 since then.
Man, that's great, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
let me ask you this. How much of a pain in the ass is the design of what you want your amp to look like?
Oh man. So
Because musicians, let's be honest, we're vain and we
yeah.
like things to look cool. So like,
Mhm.
how much energy did you put into that? Because your amps look really cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that part of it. And it's weird. Like there weren't a ton of drawings. That stuff kind of just comes to me. Like I'll try a few things and I mess with it a little bit. And I don't know, I guess I've always just kind of had a tasteful eye and surprisingly, a lot less time than the actual circuit and like sound design.
Okay.
Now it's taken a long time to perfect it. I've changed very minor things here and there and stuff that nobody seems to notice, but I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think kind of the culmination of all that, my favorite design that we've done so far is, I don't know if you've seen that one.
I've seen Buddy's amps and I've been on your website, obviously.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, keep
Yeah,
going.
the ivory with the wood swoop.
Yeah.
It took a while to get there, but that was kind of like, okay, this is the one. Like this is the one I want in the foreground moving forward,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Kind of reminds me, it's got like a retro meets modern feel to it.
Yeah.
Like it feels familiar, but it
Like
still
a
feels
modern
new.
vintage kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it still
Yeah.
feels like a new thing to me, like where you see it and you're like, oh, that's sexy. What is that? You know what I mean?
And then it helps that like the logo lights up, like
Yeah.
a couple little like modern touches like that. But then like a mid-century kind of finish. So yeah.
Yes, which is very cool. That aesthetic is very rad. When you think about like a really cool piece of furniture, like old record players that were like a piece of furniture in your home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like your amps could easily sit in a living room,
Totally. And I've had people buy them because they're like, I just want to look at it in my living room. I'm like, right on, dude, whatever.
Sweet.
It kind of shoots me in the foot a little bit because I've also had people tell me, like artists, I've gotten a few amps out to artists and they're like, or just like touring musicians, and they're like, oh, this is so rad, I can't wait to record with it. And I'm like, yeah, and gig with it too. And they're like, it's too pretty, I don't want to beat it up. And I'm like, no, I will make you a new one. Just take
Right.
it off. Like,
Well, plus too, I can imagine those amps like getting beat up will even look cooler, man.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
It's just like you have a really cool aesthetic going on, Charles. It's like
Thank you.
and then like I mean, you know, I talk to Buddy a lot and like we kind of gear gab quite often.
He's one of my
And
favorite people, man. I love that
oh,
guy.
he's an amazing person.
I'm not just saying that because he's in the comments.
Right?
Can I cuss on this?
You can cuss all you want. Yeah.
Fuck you, buddy.
Someone else is saying hello. What's going on, Gordon?
Hey.
But so I wanted to ask you, so as far as like amp design, all right. So when I look at your website and I see all like the different tubes and stuff that you're using and how you're designing like KT66s, I love those and I love 88s too. Like I have this red amp right here is my buddy Steve O'Connor builds these out of Maine and he's been doing those since like 2009 or something like that.
Oh, right on.
But he has kind of like it's an interesting platform. So it's like Black Panel meets Matchless kind of thing.
Right on. Yeah.
So it's a cool vibe. So when you were building like the first amp and you're thinking about like big picture of like the hi-fi thing and like what do I want to do to like make a guitar feel that warmth?
Yeah.
Were you thinking about specific amps you loved through history? Or were you like, no, I know what I want to hear?
So no, I didn't really have I've actually never heard it from another builder, but people seem to assume that people have a sound in their mind and then they design the circuit to try and find that sound. Maybe that's true. I've never heard another builder say that personally, but I was just experimenting with new sounds and leaning it. Like I would have that, but not just like from nothing, you know. I would tweak stuff and tweak parts and see what they did and then go, whoa, that's cool, and kind of lean into it, you know.
Okay.
So the KT66 was a tube I played with a lot in hi-fi in the beginning before I got into more exotic, like old vintage tubes, like single-ended triodes, like 2A3s and 300Bs and 845s and stuff like that. But when I rediscovered it was because I heard a vintage JTM 45.
Ooh.
And I was like, holy shit, this is kind of what I've been missing here. So I took my circuit that I had, the original Silktone amp circuit. It has a lot of vintage Fender blood in it, you know, like the whole pre-section is pretty much modeled after like a few different Fender pre-designs. And then the power stage is the unique part. So it's a single-ended amp, so it's not a push-pull stage. It's a single-ended amp like the Champ, but it's higher powered like the Princeton. But finding that initially it had a 6L6 tube, and then rediscovering the KT66 with the JTM 45, I was like, oh man, I got to get some of those. And I tried it in my circuit and it just opened everything up. Like everything came to life and it just fit. It just fit well. And I fell in love with it all over again. And I haven't really turned back. I'm sure eventually I'll do some amps that have a different tube than that. You know, the Micronaut does now, but I'm sure I'll do some higher powered ones that have different tubes. But for right now, I think it's the best and most underrated guitar tube out there. So I'm kind of just designing for that. We're releasing an amp called the Parallel, probably next week or something. I don't mind talking about it.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah, but that also has KT66 tubes, but it has two of them, but not push pull. It's parallel single ended. So it'll have a lot of the same characters as a Silktone amp, but it just takes it to another level. And it was really hard to. I was telling someone recently, the initial Silktone amp I wanted to do would have been around 20-25 watts, but I was so in love with single-ended design at the time, and there was no transformer companies out there making a 20 to 30 watt single-ended transformer. There were for hi-fi, but hi-fi transformers sound like garbage in a guitar amp. So when I started working with Sour Sound, I started bugging him about higher power designs. I said, I currently have this Silktone amp and I would love to double the power in it. And he said, let's fucking do it. And so having your transformers built by one of your best friends, not too far away is definitely a plus. So
Yeah, man.
we got this design together. I wanted to wait until a few more people knew it, because it's a really expensive amp to build. So I wanted to wait till we were a little better known to release it. But it's currently my favorite amp. It kind of takes everything the Silktone amp is, and you just get way more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about those tubes, man. Like when my first experience playing through that amp, it felt very, very focused and very like, I don't know, punchy in a way that it didn't sag.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it felt, sometimes I feel like this, I think this Bloomfield, I think I have 6L6s in there. I think I should know this, but I
I
don't.
think that does. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that amp
Mhm.
to death. That's my favorite amp now. But
You're right.
like,
Yeah, Eli's cool. They make cool
yeah.
amps.
I mean, it's just like, and I don't even use the clean channel on that amp. My bass tone, I just leave it on the lead channel, and it's just a little bit of push, a little bit of crunch
Right.
kind of thing, and you can get it clean. But there's something about that amp that even does it better.
Yeah.
And it's
And
probably
that
those
one has,
tubes.
you said that has 88s in it, or?
66s
Oh,
on
that
that.
one does. Oh,
Yeah,
cool,
yeah, yeah.
cool. Yeah, they're
Um,
everyone relates them, but they're really different too. Like
yeah,
they sound a lot different. The 88 is a little more aggressive. It has a wider range, but I kind of like wider range, good for hi-fi. For guitar, less focus is what that translates to for me. So
mhm.
I like the 66 a lot for guitar, just because of that warmth and focus, like you talked about. So
Yeah, they're nice.
yeah,
That's smart. When I saw that on your website, I was like, "Hell yeah!" Like,
yeah.
because you don't often see it. You just like everything is like,
Mhm.
EL84s, 34s, 6L6, 6V6, like that's
Yeah.
everything.
It's all
Yeah,
over the place. It would
that's
probably I don't know if like I'm not great at marketing, and I don't know what people what people exactly want or why they want it. And I just kind of build what I want to play and what I like and what I hear. And I feel like eventually people will gravitate towards that. If that's what they like, they'll buy some Silktone stuff. But I always wondered, like, would I sell more amps if I just built them with normal tubes, like everyone, like 6L6s? Is that a thing that people do? Like, oh, 6L6s, I know that. I love 6L6s. I'll buy that amp. Like, I always wondered if KT66s like would steer people away, but it doesn't seem to matter. People just like good
oh,
sound, so they're,
yeah.
they're smarter than that. They want what sounds good.
And I think you could wave the freak flag for the KT66,
Right?
man. Let's
Yeah.
like make more people educated about how great it is. But or maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe you like, no, I want to hoard all these tubes.
Yeah,
Like,
I think more people would use them if they were more prevalent, like throughout the decades. But they stopped making them in, like, I think the early 70s. Like it's originally a British tube, and in the 60s they were ubiquitous in British hi-fi or anything like that. And that's why Marshall used them, because they were all over the place. And then they stopped making them, so he switched to EL34s,
mhm.
and nobody started making a good one again until, like, they started reproducing them in the late 90s, I believe, but they were garbage. They'd fail like constantly, and they
Ah,
didn't really nail it again until I think the like early 2010s, something
mhm.
like that. And now they're reliable, and they sound as good as, I've compared them to like vintage uh 66s, and it's really close. They sound really great.
Yeah,
um Yeah, so I think that has a lot to do with it,
yeah.
that because they weren't available, they weren't in all of people's favorite amps. But I think they would have been if they had been more widely available for manufacturers.
Yeah. Well, I think it's awesome that you're using them. Like I said, when I saw that, I was super pumped. Um, Let me ask you, so like obviously as guitarists, you gotta when you have a company like you do, making pedals is like an obvious next step.
Yeah,
And I've, over the past year, all of my contemporary YouTuber friends like Buddy and Sasha and all that I've seen your fuzz, I've seen the Overdrive Plus and everything. So what was the first pedal that you made that was an utter failure that you were like, shit, I thought I was onto something? And then when did you get it together that you were like, oh, I think I have something?
So the fuzz was the first one I ever even tried doing, and I trash canned it. Uh, it might be detrimental to admit this, but I trash canned it when the Benson germanium fuzz came out. So I was working on it, I was almost done, and then the Benson fuzz came out with the thermal bias and everything, and I was like, oh man, that's cool. That's really cool. It kind of makes mine obsolete. I don't know about that. And then a few friends of mine they convinced me to like open it back because they're like, no, dude, it's completely different. Like you can adjust this one. They both tackle the same problem in a very different way. So,
Right.
the, I decided to take it, out of the trash can, and it, it was a success. So commercially, like retail wise, I haven't really had a flop yet. And the only pedals I've ever fully designed were the Fuzz and then the new Overdrive Plus. And
Mhm.
they've both gotten more success than I ever thought they would. The people love the Fuzz. They love being able to dial in any tone they want with, out of the germanium transistors, because it has that cool bias meter on it. So you can get the sticky, super gated Velcro-y tones if you want, or you can dial it right into the sweet spot every time you want it. And then the overdrive, it's funny that when I started designing the overdrive, I was like, okay, the fuzz is so difficult to build.
Yeah. I bet.
Sourcing germanium is such a pain in the ass, and they're physically hard to build. Like the way we do the meter and stand the meter inside and just balancing them, we spend a lot of time on each and every fuzz, just making sure it's perfect. And it's still, you know, it's still as noisy as the fuzz face is. We didn't change
That's the
anything with that.
charm, man.
Yeah, and I love it. As far like I expect that when I want to play a germanium fuzz pedal, I expect little noise. That's fine, but I wanted to release a pedal that was easy to build, easy to design, and was kind of like my idea at the time economically was like, I want a low cost item that I can, that everyone loves overdrive, that'll be fine. And then I got into designing it, and it just kept getting to be more and more and more and more, because
Complicated.
I'm like, well, this is really cool, but I bet I can make it cooler. And then I just keep adding stuff and adding stuff, and now the overdrive is more complicated than the fucking fuzz.
Dude, well,
So
I'm a fuzz junkie, man. Like I
yeah,
have really like fallen hard for fuzz. Probably around 2011 or 12 is when I started to like finally understand it in a way.
yeah,
People are so scared of it. Like in terms of instead of embracing it, embracing the craziness of fuzz and like
yeah,
understanding that if you use your guitar as the motherboard and you roll your volume down, there's a
yeah,
lot of different ways you can, get great sounds. Um, but like everything that I have seen in terms of like, because like even on your website, I think it's like there's like a line about the overdrive, like who needs another overdrive? Well, this one's cool. Like we think
yeah,
you check this one out, which I have to check both of those out because they look great. And everything that I've heard from Buddy or whatever, whoever
yeah.
else it was, I'm like, oh, that's some great sounds.
I
But
dude, I gotta send you. I actually meant to send you one ahead of this conversation so we could have some common stuff to talk about. But I'm
I've
so
watched enough and I've seen enough to know
yeah,
they're fucking rad. So,
yeah,
but I think what's cool about, even in the world of fuzz, not all fuzzes are obviously created equal. Um, whether it's a fuzz face or a zonk, whatever it is that you're playing, like there's room for them to be musical. And it seems like what you have done is create a product that like out of the gate can be musical, even for people who are scared of fuzz.
yeah. So actually, that I was gonna mention that. I'm glad you mentioned it. I've heard that from so many people that like. So the same way as you, people that absolutely love fuzz and it's one of their favorite effects, and they adore my fuzz. They're like, it's the best fuzz I've ever heard. I don't want to play with anything else now. Like, why would anyone need anything else? And then at the same time, people who are like, no, 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 I don't like fuzz, because of that cleanup knob on mine, it turns it into any gain range you want.
Right.
So people who don't really I know so many guitar players who don't use their volume or tone knob on their guitar.
Right.
They don't even think about it. It's not even there to them. Um, but they'll turn the cleanup knob on the fuzz pedal and go, "Oh my god, this is the best overdrive I've ever heard."
Right?
So yeah, it can go into like clean boost territory where you just get those sparkly, like, fuzz facey kind of chimey cleans,
Mhm.
or it can go into like a low crunch, or you keep it all the way down and it's full fuzz, and it's just great. So I've heard from so many people, man, I hate fuzz, and you have one of the best pedals I've ever heard.
Yeah, because if you do it right, and if you're controlling things correctly, like you said, it's like it can be
Yeah.
like a very cool, smooth overdrive in a way,
Yeah,
like a violin-y, like that Eric Johnson type vibe, you know?
totally. Yeah, I know. It's funny. I've matched mine to like a lot of people's favorite fuzz that people have brought over here to like compare it to is like the Sun Face, the Analog Man Sun Face.
Oh,
It's
right.
a great pedal. It's fantastic. The ones I've heard have been really low gain, um,
Yes.
and
Yep.
they're great. And if you take my fuzz and turn the cleanup knob down, it it sounds identically amazing. you
Yeah,
know, so
I
it's just
believe it.
funny. Like I didn't realize before I started making those things how many other builders use like really low gain transistors, and I like the range, like just like with my music taste, where it goes from Cyndi Lauper to like Sleep and Black Sabbath. Uh,
Right.
I like to be able to dial in a low gain tone, like a really pretty kind of always on enhancer, or completely smash it and get square waves.
Yeah.
So the the overdrive's the same way. You can go really low gain pretty, and then it's like fuzz face, kind of like big muff, just totally rips on the other end of things. So
I love that.
um that's kind of what I've been the feedback I've kind of adopted the most and been the most uh flattered by online is how versatile the pedals are with such few um knobs and switches and stuff. And that's
Yeah,
kind of the aim is I want simple versatility. I don't like pedals that have 10,000 knobs on them.
me either.
Myself, I just get lost. I don't have time to deal with it. So I want to dial in a few knobs, couple switches, and that's it. But I like being able to get a gigantic gain range out of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Dude, I feel the same way about delay pedals. Like I've bought
Mhm.
and sold so many delay pedals in my
Yeah.
time. And I finally found one and I've had it for 3 or 4 years now, and
What is it?
it's the Mythos Oracle.
Oh, rad. Okay. I haven't heard that one yet, but
It's just 3 knobs.
yeah,
3
that's
knobs,
yeah,
analog echo type vibe. I use it a lot for slapback. It has a
yeah,
tap on it. It's
that's
it's
cool.
it's amazing, and dude, I'm telling you, Charles, I've probably bought and sold 20 to 25 other delay pedals.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm pissed about?
That's the one.
I
Yeah.
had the JHS Pink Panther, like the one that like the lawsuit one.
Oh, yeah.
I had that one, and I sold it right before all this shit hit the fan. I was like, "Damn it, I should have saved that. That could have been like a museum
Like
piece."
a
Like,
big thing, yeah.
but that was a cool pedal too. But man, it's the same thing with like if there's option paralysis, if I get something and I'm just, dude, I can't even use this. I don't even understand it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm way underusing it. Like, there's no way I'm gonna get out of this what the builder intended me to get out of this pedal.
Right.
You know?
Even with just yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. The one of my favorites that I've ran into recently, oh god, I feel bad that I don't remember the name.
That's okay.
Um but it has an LDR. It has like a little light meter on the front of it. And oh man, I really wish I could remember the name. It's a small builder. Um but it has a like a PT2399 delay chip in it, and it has an LDR to it's a for those that don't know is a light dependent resistor, and depending on how much light is in the room or in front of it controls the delay rate.
What?
So you can use your foot to like if you close the light off with your foot, it'll get faster, and then as you bring it out it gets a little slower. And it's
What?
I think it's Bookworm Effects is the one, and That one's been really cool to mess with.
That reminds me of the ZVEX Probe. Remember that thing?
It's a lot like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. What a that company, ZVEX, man. That's like, I've never played that Fuzz Factory pedal, but I've heard it's absolutely crazy.
It's really good. That's the first pedal I ever bought.
Oh, really?
In the early 2000s, I picked it up from some shop in San Francisco, and I remember they had the they have the little probe one on that one too, like the Fuzz Factory, the Fuzz Probe or whatever.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they had a wah one and a fuzz one, but I just got the regular little box, and it can sound really good and it can sound really bad.
Because it's like unpredictable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone I've heard who's owned it has been like, yeah, it's not for people
Yeah.
who want to use like on the stage. Like, it's cool for studio to get a weird sound, and
Yeah. So
but
that's what, at risk of I love, you know, Zach's designs are incredible. And I don't in any way mean to discount what he does, because I really liked that pedal lets you tune everything. And again, the Fuzz Factory is one of the first boutique pedals that I ever had, and they were fantastic. But my design approach is very different, where with, you know, I was saying the other day, like I was talking to Benson and Brian Sowers, and we were talking about or no, I forget who I was talking to, but we were talking about designs and kind of like design goals that you're going for, and how anyone can. Oh, sorry, it was on the After Dark show. I was talking to Dave Hill, and we were saying the designs that let you tweak any feature, like as fun as they are, to me, it seems like lazy design because,
yeah,
you know, I could easily make an amp with 20 knobs where you could adjust the bias and adjust the roll off of every single stage and sculpt the exact tone you want. But if you don't know what you're doing, there's so much more room to just get lost in that.
mhm.
So, like I said, my design approach is to get the most good sounds out of as few controls as possible. So that way nothing sounds bad ever. I don't want to be able to get a bad sound out of any product I release. So I spend the time as a designer to go through and decide, okay, this range sounds good. You know, this range is good here at this stage. This is good here. So I'm going to offer that controllability, but it's still going to have the kind of house Silktone sound.
Yeah.
And that's hard. That's hard to dial in.
I bet.
And it's hard to make those choices. I've landed on other designs actually that way. Like there's a ton of times where I've been like, I have so much stuff on the drawing board right now to like release another drive pedal or another amp where it almost made the cut, but I went this other way instead.
Yeah.
You know, and that also sounded cool, but it just didn't match this one thing I was going for. So rather than making that available to everyone, because it opens up so many options for, you know, what word am I looking for? Confusion, I guess. You know, you don't want to have too much stuff on there. It just
no. I mean, and let's be real. I mean, most of us guitarists don't want to have to think too much. We just want to plug in and have a good sound. And even if that sound is the pedal platform, you know what I mean? Like anything that's going to support whatever else you're using is a win-win. I mean, I don't want to get on a stage and have to think about, oh crap, like somebody moved all my knobs and like now I can't get my sound because I got to go for 15, 20 minutes, figure out what's going on. That's just like hell on earth. So anything that can be dialed down to the point where it's like, no matter what you do, I feel that way about Mark Bartel's amps too.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, you can plug in and get a great sound immediately, and you can't say that about every amp, man. Like,
dude, he's a great designer. I love Mark. I love Mark Bartel's stuff. There's not a ton of designers out there that I really, you know, respect as a builder, but he's one of them for sure.
Baltimore,
yeah.
man.
No, I've talked to him a few times. I've talked to him over the years, and I've asked him a few things because he's been doing it a lot longer than I have, and he's always been so nice and helpful with stuff. That's what's so cool about this community. Everyone's always been so nice. Like, there's been people doing it way longer than I have, and they're very welcoming. When they see a design come in that they respect, and they're like, "Whoa, this dude's doing something new," they're excited because it's not just another clone, you know.
Totally.
And
respect. It's like mutual respect across the board. It seems like there's so many people in your shoes. Have you hung out with Jesse Honig from 29 Pedals?
Oh yeah, a bunch of times. We hit it off immediately.
I was gonna say, you guys seem like you guys would be buds.
We're about to hang out next weekend. We're doing a pedal expo in Portland, and last time we stayed at the same hotel and everything, and we're gonna hang out a bunch.
Tell him I said hello. I love that guy.
I absolutely will. Yeah, we're gonna Friday night. We're gonna go to a fire at Benson's compound, and we're just last year we went and we sat around a campfire and all hung out, and we're gonna do it again this year. So
that's so cool, dude.
And then we're gonna do the pedal thing Saturday and Sunday. So if anyone's in Portland, come check it out. It's a free show. It's just a stomp box exhibit for like synth and pedals, and I'm gonna bring an amp, and we're gonna hang out and show off our pedals and amps.
That's so cool. How convenient for you too that you build both and you do both very well. Because like, oh, and you like that? Hey, look how this sounds. This is my amp. It all works out, man.
That's cool.
All right, so I gotta pop this up here.
Yeah.
So I guess somebody has a prototype.
Ron was one of the first ones to have it. Yeah, hi Ron. I think I told him not to tell anybody, but
but he was. I guess you spilled the beans, Silent.
It's fine. I don't care. I've been talking about it. Even that I don't know if you know her, but that guitarist Grace Bowers.
Mm-hmm.
She's a young girl who's been popping up in Nashville playing with everybody. She's just blowing up. She's had one since like November, and as soon as she got it, she posted a video, and I wasn't gonna tell her, hey, don't do that.
Right. I know.
So yeah, it's been out there. So the Parallel, I've been building them for a few months here. It's been finished for a few months, but just with retail design cycles, we weren't announcing it until it got in with some dealers. So we're getting ready to announce it next week, but I kind of like sending it out to, if people, no, I'm just kidding, Ron. You're totally good.
Sorry to put you on blast, Ron, but
no, not at all.
It was a good endorsement. It was a good endorsement of the amp.
Once it's finished, if people call me and they're like, hey, people have been calling me for a few months and have been saying, I really want a Silktone amp, but I would love something that was 25 watts or higher, or 20 watts or higher. What do you have? Basically, as soon as I finished that one, I started allowing it out into the world, and I would kind of just tell people, I'm not going to announce it online right away, but if someone asks me specifically, hey, do you have a higher wattage amp? Yeah, I'm going to sell it to him. I talked to him about it. And that's when me and Ron got on the phone. He said, do you have anything, just a little bit higher wattage? And I said, well, I got this new one I've been working on. And he has one of the first 3 that was ever built. So, and I kind of like doing that. Sorry, Ron, as kind of a road test. That way, if anything goes wrong with it, I know ahead of release.
Yeah. So, and this is a 112 combo.
It is a 112 combo. It's the same form factor as the Silktone amp. It's the ivory and walnut one right there is that's a Parallel, and I think Buddy's got one on his channel now, and
nice.
Same form factor. It's going to have the ivory and walnut stock, and it's that 25 watt dual KT66. Again, it's my new favorite amp. It's fantastic,
ass, dude. Kick ass, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Charles, I don't want to hold you up. Let's do the lightning round get down so I can get you out of here and you can go do your evening.
Sure.
All right. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put a metronome on at 112 BPM cruising altitude for some suspense. And I got 10 questions for you. If you want, you don't have to, but if you want, you can explain your answers. If not, you can just burn right through them. The first one is always the same. Lennon or McCartney?
Oh man, that one's changed in the last few years. I used to say Lennon, and now I lean McCartney.
All right.
Basically because of was it Wildlife?
In terms of like his solo records or
the album? I think it's the second album.
Was it that record?
I think it's Wildlife.
I don't know.
Wildlife sounds wrong. Something, whatever that is. Yeah.
I mean, was Ram the first record?
Ram.
First
Yeah, I
solo
think
record?
Ram was the first. It's the one right after Ram.
Okay,
Because
okay.
of that album alone, I'm like, yeah, McCartney.
Dude, I mean, I love Paul McCartney. I actually love Wings. Like, some people, like, don't like Wings. I freaking love Wings. If you, like,
Yeah.
listen to some of that catalog, dude, there's some really good songs. So, all right. American or British voice amps?
Dude, I equally love both, and that's why I designed my amps to trying to do both. Like in mine, that's that mid control, and now on the parallel, the 1 and 2 mode, they kind of straddle the line between American and British. And I know a lot of people try to do that, but I think I do it best.
All right, all right.
So I'm gonna say both. If I had to live with one, it's tough. JTM 45 is a British amp, and that's probably my favorite amp. But every other vintage Fender is like 2 to 10. So that's yeah.
Are you a big fan of super reverbs?
I love them.
I feel like it's weird. Those amps are like, I feel like you have to get them cooking to get them to do the thing that they do. And when you get them cooking, they're so friggin' loud.
That's the thing. I don't mind playing a loud amp. I have a really cool spot here where I can turn it up. I don't particularly like super reverbs at low volume, but yeah, I think that's a push-pull amp thing in general. You really have to get them cranking to really open them up. That's why I like single-ended stuff, because even at low volume, all the power is there. So you get all that bloom and compression even at lower volumes.
Yeah, totally.
That's why I designed single-ended mostly. But go ahead.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, man. I mean, I think, it's one thing if Derek Trucks is playing a super reverb and can do that on a stage, but like us mortal men and women that are playing in a bar in the corner cannot utilize a super reverb the way it should be used.
Right.
All right, Clapton or Townsend?
I would say Townsend, 100%, because he's not a racist weirdo. But go ahead. as far as I know. Next question. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second. I have to. My guy's here to pick up my stuff.
Okay. Sorry.
Hey, dude. Sorry, I'm recording a podcast. Can you just take those boxes? Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Those are the ones. Thanks, dude. Right on.
Nice. All right. So you got to choose a lifestyle of one of these superheroes: Tony Stark or Bruce Wayne.
It's Bruce Wayne, 100%.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Vanilla or chocolate ice cream?
Chocolate.
Compression pedals, yay or nay?
I just got a Dynacomp from the 70s, and I love it. And I never liked them before that, but I got a 70s Dynacomp, and now I'm all about it.
Oh, all right. Here we go. Scorsese or Tarantino?
Ooh. That's tough. Early Scorsese I love. I haven't liked his latest ones. Tarantino, all of it's pretty good. I'd go Scorsese.
All right. Water slide or diving board?
Water slide for sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, more fun.
Weezer or STP?
Weezer, 100%. But I saw STP open for Weezer just last year.
Oh, nice. All right. Here's the last one, Charles. Sometimes this is the hardest. Sometimes it's the easiest. If you could take one album and erase it from your memory, just so you could go back and experience it for the first time again, what album would you do that with?
Oh, what a fun question. That's tough, because would I experience it the same now if it's a different time in my life? You know what I mean? Like, Smashing Pumpkins' Siamese Dream.
Ooh, okay. You have to tell me why on that.
I wouldn't call it my favorite album, but it probably had one of the biggest impacts on me, and I really dove into it. And I don't know. I'd be really curious to see if I like it as much if I heard it again today for the first time. I think I would. But I would love to just go through that whole thing again. Like that was kind of a fork in the road for me. And when I heard that album, I was like, oh shit, it changed a lot of things. So,
yeah, man.
So it'd be tough, because undoing that, like, you know, is it butterfly effect? Does it undo everything in my life that that album changed, or is it?
We'll never know,
I'll never
unfortunately.
know.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but
Uh,
I'll say this much, man. Like you can't really balk at today.
yeah.
I mean, that song is just simplicity and pure magic, and very for the time when you like look at when that record came out and everything that was going on. I mean, I had that album sitting on top of Incesticide, you know what I mean? Like, so there was like on top of my CD player, there was Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and Smashing Pumpkins and all that stuff. And I, for a long time, don't feel like I understood the Smashing Pumpkins, but now
Yeah.
as an adult and as somebody who's been in the music industry for quite a long time, I'm like, I have a way bigger appreciation for Billy Corgan and what he is as a songwriter.
Yeah, totally. Songwriting
You
is
know?
amazing. I've always loved his albums. I saw him twice last year. I had never seen him before that. And I'll say, at risk of him ever seeing this, their live sound is atrocious.
Really?
It's terrible.
Oh
Um,
no.
it just hurts. It's so shrill, it's so high, and there's
Really?
a lot going on. It's a bummer because it's always, I was so excited to see him, and they ripped. They completely crushed it. The show was amazing. As soon as I got some earplugs in, it was fine. Um, and they just crushed it with the energy, and their set list was great. But yeah,
Yeah.
weird live sound out of that band.
That
But
sucks,
no,
dude.
the yeah, Siamese Dream and Melancholy were both like, yeah, huge albums for me. So
Yeah, man.
yeah, that
That's
changed a
awesome.
lot. Yeah.
Well, dude, Charles, I don't want to hold you up anymore, man, but thank you. This was so fun to chat with you and get to know you,
Yeah.
man. It's just like I mean, I wish you nothing but the best in terms of your company and everything. You're doing some really cool stuff for guitar players. And here's the website, everybody. BV is not in this chat. BV is on holiday, but popped in and dropped your all of your links in here. So make sure you head over to Silktone. Check out all the cool stuff over there, amps, pedals, all the good stuff, cabs, extension cabs, all that good stuff. Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook,
Yeah.
so
And
but
I'll just add that any way you want to contact me, it's just me, you know, like I have people helping me, but as far as Instagram and the website and the phone number and all that, like I answer the phone, I answer the DMs. So if you have any questions, that's how to get a hold of me.
awesome. Well, thanks so much for hanging out, Charles. Really
Yeah. Thank you,
appreciate you.
Mark.
Yeah,
Right on.
man. Hang out for 1 second. Everybody else, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time.